What's up, squad? Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, I just got through watching the last debate for before the Iowa caucus on Monday uh, between Governor Nikki Haley, former UN ambassador, and Governor DeSantis out of Florida. Nikki Haley was out of South Carolina, and Governor DeSantis was out of Florida. So, really not the most political person, but I do think the way we pick presidents in America is very interesting. It really is, and it's quite telling. When it's Republican versus Republicans, there are nuances. When it's Democrat and Democrat, it's nuances. Republican versus Democrat debates, you see a little bit more contrast, but at the end of the day, it's going to be nuances. And I really picked that up today in a debate. So some of my initial thoughts was one, once again, the forerunner, Donald Trump, former president of the United States, he was not involved in the debate. And they left out Vivek Ramaswamy, the fast talking entrepreneur. They got rich out of the tech industry, but he's real snappy and he's able to put some zingers in there. But he was left out because he didn't meet the threshold. Some people say that was just a conspiratorial effort to keep him out of Americans' eyes before the Iowa's caucus. In fear that he may pick a memento. I really don't think Vivek is that much of a threat. I just think he's the funny guy at the party. He'll say some zingers. He'll drop some truth bomb, but he seems like a very niche candidate, in my opinion. Now, some could have said that about Trump, but Trump had a lot of things going for him that Vivek doesn't. One of those is a long history, so people were very comfortable with Donald Trump when he got elected. Vivek kind of just stormed the scene. Uh, Whereas Trump, a lot of people felt as though he was really vested in a lot of previous work he's done based off the long public persona and history that Donald Trump had created over himself, being a successful businessman over the decades. So, looking at these two people, there's a couple things I saw, and one concerning thing was Israel definitely owns America at this point. There was a point in the debate where the question was asked about obviously the conflict that's going on in Gaza, and it is extremely concerning because both candidates, and this is where I say it's nuances, because it's really more about your palate than any. I don't think either one of these candidates would govern in a drastically different way. They're indicative or representative of a greater interest, and that's what they really represent. And anything else is just I think a super superficial. It's meant to address one's palate. Who do you appreciate more, or who is more tasteful to you? Who do you want to see on your TV for the next 4 years? So they both said that pretty much that Israel can do no wrong. Whatever they say, go. Nikki Haley even goes as far as to say Israel doesn't need America. America has always needed Israel. I don't like if America existed for hundreds of years as a nation state or as a country before Israel. America was founded in the 1700s, at least modern America, and Israel is from the mid 20th century. Like that whole, it was just so much in that statement. Any American would be thoroughly concerned with that, especially considering how unpopular this war in Gaza has been coming off. So, but in all honesty, DeSantis wasn't saying anything different. But the whole fact that they said that it was nothing, there was nothing give Israel everything they want. There is nothing that they're doing wrong. Even you have a child, you love your child or your mother or father. You wouldn't say to your mother or father or child can do no wrong. I just thought that was, I, those were not two candidates that put America first. I'll put it that way. No pun intended. Other than that, both of them really came out strong. We're way down the line, so they got their legs up under them. They know kind of what they want. They have their brand. I thought DeSantis, like for the first time ever, I felt as though DeSantis was a very solid candidate in his presentation. Usually he's a little stiff for my liking, um, but I really felt as though he came out with fire, he came out with facts. And let's face it, he has one hell of a track record. Over these years of COVID, at least in the last 5 to 10 years, Florida has been one of the hottest states or the hottest states to move to in the U.S. Um, Both in weather and in terms of economics. A lot of entrepreneurs that were fleeing California, and as well as Northerners priced out the market or not given enough opportunity, they moved to the Sun Belt. A big beneficiaries were going to be places like Arizona, Nevada, Texas, and Florida. And Florida keeps chugging along. They have attracted a lot of talent to that state. And one of the great things that DeSantis could hang his hat on, which he doesn't do, I think, to enough credit, is he took a longtime New Yorker like Donald Trump, a man whose brand was synonymous with New York City, and he provided him a haven in Mar-a-Lago in Florida. So the sentence, even Nikki Haley said, it was a point where he said, well, what do you admire about the other person? And Nikki Haley had no choice but to say, the sentence was a great governor. So regardless of how he presented himself, he basically was the head of a state that has been seen in the last 5, 10 years as a premier business state or just a state to move to. Florida has been a magnet, and that's saying a lot considering some of the challenges it may have. It's one of the third most populous, maybe the third most populous state in the union now. So it is a major state. It's not a small state, demographically at least. And DeSantis has led it. Nikki Haley, she's corporate. Like I don't think anybody's surprised by that. Like corporate. Her record in South Carolina is okay. Nothing pops out. It's South Carolina. It's not a major demographic state. It has its own challenges. But she has a great veneer. She's polished. She's very articulate, charming. So she doesn't grate on you like I think DeSantis can grate on you sometimes. And she has great experience being a governor of state, working at the UN, so she has those chops. But the whole point with Nikki Haley is she's bought and paid for. Who isn't at that level, but Nikki a little bit more than others. Governor Haley more than others. So I think she was kind of on the back foot. And DeSantis was really trying to push that narrative. He kept using the word cave as though she's buckling. She can't take pressure. I think she gets to a point where she talks about leadership and she gave a very strong, powerful answer. One of the few times she really stood out to me in this debate. I think she slid this way because, like I said, that great veneer, very charming, very disarming, very measured. And she hasn't really had to get her hands dirty. When it's only two of them on the stage, she really had to go teeth and claw with DeSantis. I think it did kind of took her out of her comfort level. And DeSantis was a lot more abrasive, and he really came to play. So these debates are great because these are two exceptional people, like it or not, whatever way you look at it, to reach this stake to be one of the possible contenders. Looking at Biden, Trump, Haley, and DeSantis, one of four people that is going to be the president of one of the most powerful countries in the history of the world. To rise to that level is truly an exceptional a marker career. So it's not that one is superior to the other one in that regard. And it allows a great opportunity to see how these exceptional people, how they deal with stress, challenges. Nikki Haley constantly, and that's another thing, right? Nikki Haley can never attack DeSantis. DeSantis, he can always rely on his record because he was a hell of a governor. Nikki Haley can never attack his record. She talked about his campaign and who knows. DeSantis, he started at the top and he tried that whole hands-off approach, and that's why Nikki Haley has laughed on, because I think you gotta be like Trump. You gotta be hardcore out the gate, at least from Republicans, because most Republicans, they're gonna be mad about something. Like the government's always spending too much, the government's always in your business, the government's always growing. So that's just gonna be the energy you're always gonna get on the Republican side. And DeSantis came out trying to be like cool, and the Republican Party is not the cool party. They're like the upset party, like shit's getting crazy, somebody has to stop it party. That's the Republican Party. And like I said, Nikki Haley been able. She has a veneer. She has a professionalism. Almost, I'm not gonna say Mitt Romney-ish, but she didn't. No one really expected her to get down and dirty. But as I said, with two people on the stage, she had to get her hands dirty a little bit. She responded back well, but you could tell it was a little bit out of her comfort zone. But DeSantis has a hell of a record. Nikki Haley can never attack that. She can only talk about his frivolous campaign spending when and DeSantis' camp was probably like, hey, we got the most money. This thing is going to go forever. We're going to slide through. Because don't forget, they're still fighting over number 2. They're not even fighting over the number 1 spot. So I think they were just like, we just got to slide through the number 2. And then we got to prove our chops with Donald Trump. And people are going to get behind us because we're the establishment. And Democrats fall in love. Republicans fall in line. And if they want to see a successful candidate, who knows what Trump is going to be with some of his legal woes, etc. It's like, hey, we could just slide through a number 2. Nikki Haley, her camp was like, nah, you're going to have to work for it. And now she's ahead of the polls. So it's nothing else to do right now but vote. But it was a great debate. I think both candidates represented themselves well. And you really got an insight in who they were going to be. I think if DeSantis is elected, he's going to make some pragmatic choices. I think he's very much out of touch. And I think he's going to represent the establishment just as though Nikki Haley is going to be I think Nikki Haley's a little bit more down to earth. I do trust her pragmatism a little bit more. Bringing down a Confederacy flag in South Carolina, to me, that was a really, really big deal. Not that I'm for or against it. I'm agnostic about it, but it was the fact of that she did it. And I know how Southerners feel about their history and their culture. So the fact that she was able to pull that out means that she's a person that can really get some controversial stuff done if she had to. So I thought that was very interesting because that's what I really try to look at. You never know who supports what, but you try to see things that don't make sense and can that person accomplish it? Like LBJ pushing the Civil Rights Act, like and being a Southern Texan. Like when you see people able to navigate against the wind and get things done, to me that's a measure of competency and adroitness, like a skill that should be valued. So we'll see. There's nothing else left but for people to vote. But I love to hear your comments. If you saw the debate or you have opinions on it, feel free to comment below. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. And until next time, take care. Bantu out.